guys, today we are going to be reacting to scary stories. Let's go. Hang on.
As we reload.
Oh my god, hold on. Alright. Nice. Okay.
This story happened to me a couple years ago. It happened on a Saturday night. I was typing on a school report for my English class and was pretty worn out from the tedious amount of thinking that transpired throughout the paper. I decided to take a break and procrastinate a little bit, maybe watch a couple of YouTube videos. I needed to take some stress off my mind, but didn't really have anyone to vent or talk to. This gave me the idea to visit a chat room called Omegle. For those of you who don't know what Omegle is, it's a chat room where you can literally video chat with random strangers online through your computer webcam. Needless to say, Omegle definitely helped with my social skills growing up as a child, so I was always active on it. I remember this one particular night. I was having trouble meeting new people. This left me a little frustrated, to say the least, but that's the kind of thing to expect when you're on these kind of chat sites. That's when I stumbled upon this one guy. He looked to be around the same age group as myself, and seemed like a pretty harmless individual. I decided to say hi. He didn't say anything back, he just typed the word hi in the chat box. I found it kind of weird that he would go through the effort of typing out hi as opposed to just saying hi verbally. He then waved at me and began typing something else. He introduced himself in the chat box saying, "My name is Daniel, what's your name?" I verbally said, "My name is James, how are you?" He then stares at the camera and doesn't say a word to me, completely dismissing the fact that I just asked him a question. At this point, I was convinced that this had to be some sort of pre-recorded video and that someone was just trolling me. That's when he began typing in the chat box again saying, "I'm deaf, please type in the chat box unless you know sign language." I honestly felt stupid and immediately typed, "No worries, my name is James," and gave a quick thumbs up as an act of kind gesture. He immediately typed back saying, "Nice to meet you, James," and gave me a thumbs up as well. He then typed something else that left me dumbfounded. He said, "I will use my whiteboard to chat with you going forward, because my hands will be occupied." I was confused by what he meant by that, so I typed,
Alright, first of all, that dude is not dead. And I would not trust Omegle, because, it's a sketchy app, so yeah. So anyways, let's just get back to the video.
"What do you mean by your hands being occupied?" He then starts writing on a whiteboard and raises it up on the screen, which read, "Want to play a game?" I typed, "Sure, what game you want to play?" What he did next is something I will never forget to this day. He held a revolver up with one hand and the whiteboard up with the other hand, saying, "Let's play Russian roulette." I was honestly quite creeped out by this guy and was contemplating on clicking the stop option to skip this weirdo. That's when he wrote another message on the whiteboard saying, "1 of 6. I was confused by what 1 of 6 meant. He then took the revolver, slipped one bullet inside the cylinder, and began spinning it with his other hand. I now knew what he meant by 1 of 6. It seemed like the guy was about to demonstrate an act of Russian roulette with one bullet in the cylinder of 6. He then puts the revolver against his head. I began typing, "What are you doing? Please stop this." The guy then smiles disturbingly on the camera and pulls the trigger. Nothing happened. He starts laughing hysterically like a psycho. I was honestly disturbed, but also skeptical that the gun was real, so I typed, "Is that even real?" He then points the revolver at the wall and begins to repeatedly press the trigger until the shot was fired. I was completely blown away by what I was seeing and typed, "Dude, you could have died!" That's when the guy raised the whiteboard to the screen again, showing the message, 5 of 6. I frantically started typing, "Don't do it," repeatedly in the chat box, desperately trying to get his attention. He then began loading the revolver with 5 bullets while I gestured no by waving my hands back and forth like a lunatic. I knew the odds of him surviving this time were slim to none. He then raises the revolver against his head once again and begins to disturbingly smile, with tears running down his face. He began mumbling the words, It was nice meeting you, James. I immediately slammed my laptop shut as I hear a gunshot a split second before the laptop was fully closed. I was left baffled on my computer desk. I hadn't a clue what to do. I stupidly opened my laptop up with my eyes closed. I pressed my hand against the screen where the video chat was located. I opened my eyes, and through the cracks of my fingers, I can see blood displayed everywhere on the screen. I immediately clicked the exit button on the Google Chrome tab and call it a night. To this day,
Whoa. Uh, that was crazy. I did not expect that to happen. I thought he was actually going to survive, or that the dude was actually his neighbor. When he shot through the wall, it would have hit James in the head, but I was clearly wrong, so let's just...
I'm still skeptical about what I saw that night. I haven't reported anything to the police, nor have I reported anything to Omegle. I'm not sure if that was the wisest decision, but I hope I never encounter anyone like that again.
Story number 2, I guess, or anything.
It was New Year's Day in 1995. I was in the middle of my junior year at my college, and a bunch of my friends had come down to visit me and my roommate for the festivities. We were all pretty hungover from drinking the night before, and we went out for the usual post-greasy breakfast hangover stroll around the neighborhood. Two of these friends were twin brothers. One of them we hung out with all the time. The other we just met for the first time. It was pretty normal the night before, joining in on the fun, but on this day, we were all hanging out around the local basketball court shooting hoops with an old basketball we found in the grass. And this twin brother kept following me around all over the place with the creepiest grin I've ever seen in my life, staring right into the neither regions of my soul the whole time. So I'd back away and then I'd join the group again, and he kept following me around. When we were walking back to the apartment, it was just me and him walking down the sidewalk behind the group, and he moved in front of me. He stared at me with that creepy look again and fell down to his knees as if he was to worship me or something. I didn't know what to do or say, so I said, "Hey, buddy, you alright? We're heading back now, right?" And so on. He wouldn't say anything. He'd just be there on his knees, looking up at me with this clenched face and squinted eyes as if we were looking directly into the sun or something. Later that day, my roommate said he was tripping, so I thought nothing of it and moved on with my life. A few weeks later, we got a phone call from the twin brother that we usually hung out with, and it turned out that his other twin brother went over to his aunt's house with a knife and stabbed her 14 times. She didn't die, but still pretty bad. He had even called the police before going, because he knew he was going to do it, but he couldn't stop himself from doing it, because the voices and so on. The court case was covered in the media, as this was a small community where this sort of thing doesn't happen every day. I was reading one of the articles, and one of the testimonies was that this twin brother was severely schizophrenic and was hearing voices in his head. He believed to his very bones that his aunt was the devil, and that he had been commanded by God to go kill her. So who was this God that told him to go kill her? Well, as the newspaper article described, it was this guy in the group he hung out with on New Year's Day. It didn't take me long to realize that he was talking about me. This was over 20 years ago. I know for a fact that it was a mental illness, but just knowing that I somehow commanded him to go kill his aunt just stays with me to this day.
This happened to me about a year
I have nothing to say about that. Besides, what I did. Kidding. Anyways, here you go. Let's finish.
A year ago, I used to be a janitor for a cleaning agency. I would basically take contract jobs to clean in various locations. One day, my cleaning agency gave me a cleaning contract at a psychiatric ward, also known as an asylum. To be honest, I was a bit hesitant to take the job, just because of the superstition of asylums being haunted, but I took it anyway because the pay was decent. Later that day, I arrived there. I see a huge old-looking building. To be honest, I was quite creeped out since the asylum was secluded in the middle of nowhere. When I arrive inside, I notice people giving me an uninviting stare. I'm not just talking about the patients, I'm also talking about the employees as well. To be honest, I kept it professional and began to do my job. I remember mopping the hallway and seeing some really bizarre things. I saw some creepy looking patients that had a disturbing look to them. I don't know, they just looked like the kind of people you would see in one of those exorcist movies. I remember seeing this one guy that really gave me the chills. It was a man who looked to be about 7 feet tall. He gave me this really disturbing smile like he wanted to kill me. I can see a nurse instructing him to lay on his bed. He didn't look too happy after that. I also remember seeing a swimming class taking place. Well, not exactly a swimming class, just a bunch of patients in a swimming pool. They were all holding an exercise ball and mimicking the actions of the instructor. I personally found it unsettling, to say the least. When it was around the end of my shift, I was getting ready to head home. I noticed all the patients' doors were closed, except for one room. I could see someone laying on the floor with their legs halfway across the door. It was a bit alarming for one to be laying on the floor like that. I then saw the person getting yanked into the room. That honestly startled the crap out of me. I then noticed a puddle of blood spilling out from the room and onto the hallway. I decided to approach the room and see what the hell was going on. As I peeked inside the room, I saw one of the most disturbing things ever. It was the tall man I saw earlier. He was biting the hell out of one of the nurse's neck. You could see the nurse's eyes gouged out with blood pouring everywhere. I carefully made sure to not scream or make a sound. I got the hell out of there and immediately started driving off. I even called the cops while driving. Till this day, I'm still traumatized by what I saw that night. I'm not sure exactly what happened to the tall man, but he still gives me the chills just thinking about him.
Why are you thinking about him? Oh, well, I mean, I will not be able to forget about that, you know what I mean? So that is it for this video. If you guys did enjoy it, you know what to do, right? I'm kidding, you don't have to. So basically, yeah. So if you're watching this with your parents, I honestly feel really bad for you. I was not expecting none of that to happen, but it did. And yeah, peace out. Bye.